I'm also very sorry that this did not go out yesterday, Monday. I could not make any filming happen. I could not make a whole lot of things happen outside of daily life. So we are going to go into the next part of the series, which is you start helping your children and you take a break. Alright, okay. So we're going to start into the next part of the series, and that is to kind of assess your financial state. So, we have not found a car. We have not purchased a car. Even trying to lower some standards, but also thinking ahead so that we're not purchasing a car in a few years because of what we've had to settle for today and setting us back even further. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But a car purchase has not happened as of today, September 6th, 5th, as of September 5th. And that means for us, our savings is still there. Trying to find a car that's affordable with lower mileage, and we're looking at 150. We don't want to go over 150, and the car we're looking at right now is 160. But even I haven't shared a whole lot in terms of what's coming up in terms of husband's pastor things, because that's still all being ironed out, and that's kind of something that he prefers I not share a whole lot right now. But we need a car with lower mileage, a car without payments. We'll get to that here in a minute when I show you the budget. What we have in savings and trying to find what we can with vehicles that my husband trusts. So my husband used to be a mechanic, so he based the vehicles that he would like us to have usually is a Honda or a Toyota. They have a very good reputation, and in all of his years as a mechanic, 25 years of being a mechanic, those were the fewer cars brought into the multiple shops that he worked at. There are some, he's looking into other things outside of that, just because again we are not necessarily going to be able to find that. So he is kind of changing his strict Honda Toyota mindset, but also taking out things that he's like, nope, this has all of these issues with it. We saw this all the time in the shops. This one has crammed engines. It's going to be really hard to try to do anything with that if I need to do it. This one needs like a lot of Saturns. You have to have specific Saturn tools in order to work on those vehicles for certain things. Saturns are out. There's just an awful lot of things working with our budget in a time where secondhand cars are highly valuable. And I don't know what's going on, but a vehicle with 216,000 miles is still selling for $23,000 in our area. 216,000 miles, $23,000. When we were preparing to have to replace our vehicle, I was not preparing this well. I can tell you that right now. So, it's definitely going to be an act of God to find a car. How does this fit in with our finances? I'm still basically assuming that once we find the car, if we could leave $1,000 in savings, that will be fantastic. I'm not counting on that anymore. I was really hoping for that. I'm not counting on that anymore. That would be the first step that I would do with my finances, is assess everything, what we have in checking, what we have in savings, what we budget for on I'll show you up close, what we budget for on a month-to-month basis and how this works. And kind of going from there. So looking at checking, looking at savings, looking at what my husband brought in, what is going out, so on and so forth. That's the first step, making the budget. Second thing is what I'm doing right now with our $500 challenge. So in the month of August, for the Facebook page, this was a free downloadable printable blah 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 blah. And the idea was to do whatever you can to get up to $500 as quickly as you can. An exclusive video for September for the Facebook group. If you would like to join, it is a suggested donation of $5 a month. And that just basically is one way to help me earn what I can. Okay, so this is to basically start building up savings. I would like to have an emergency fund of $2,000. How do I come up with that number? Actually, if we're honest with ourselves, I would actually prefer to have $2,500 in savings. That's just an emergency fund, $2,500. Everything is very expensive. We are a larger family. Ideally, it would be more, but this is just your basic bare bones emergency fund. Okay? Living diligently and whatnot, and then putting what we can into savings to kind of build that up as quickly as we can. What that looks like is finding ways to earn the money, but also assessing checking. So, my husband this last month, in the month of August, after we got back from our trip, he put in a full-time work hours up until this month, where he'll start working part-time again, because he's also going to be working on being a part-time pastor. So we got the checking bulked up insofar as possible during this last month. So we do have a full paycheck that we are budgeting with. Sorry, wrong one. That we are budgeting with. So that is something to note as we go into this next month. Okay. So I've already talked about our emergency fund. I would like to have I would like to have $2,500 as an emergency fund. What is an emergency fund? This is actually something that I do agree with Dave Ramsey in. I don't disagree with him on everything. I do find some of his stuff valuable. I also just don't agree with everything. But I've never been a millionaire and lost it twice. So there's that. An emergency fund, because the rainy day will come. Yes, I have experienced this, and I can guarantee you, and the rainy day comes when you're not prepared for it. That's just something that has always happened to us. So $2,500 is something in the car so something drastic happens to the car, there's a medical emergency, there is a fridge going out, there is a cooler that needs to be replaced. I mean, we're talking big things that we know at some point these things will die and they will need to be repurchased, but maybe we didn't have the savings for it. Maybe we didn't have this, whatever it is, and it's like okay, we need this now. That's what I see as our emergency fund. The emergency fund is at $2,500. Our checking account, we like to try to stay at least $1,000 to $1,500 above the bills, because there's always something that comes up, whether it's a tax that I forgot to budget for, we just didn't have the money to budget for. There's always a part maybe that we need to purchase, or bike parts that we need to purchase, or something that's not necessarily in the budget but came up and needed to be done and it's not an emergency. So that's kind of, okay, we'll dip into that, but that's not a monthly reoccurrence that we need to get into. And that gives us also a little bit of cushion for kind of things coming in and things going out, and you're not going to run into overdraft. Okay. Some people like lower. I've known a family that does it at $500 and that works great for them. We've just had a few times where, like I said, like a car part comes up and it's like, okay, there's another $500 that just got taken out, or a windshield repair comes up, or the bikes. That was another one. It just or a tool, piece of machinery that my husband would like to get that maybe, again, we don't have the savings for, but my sewing machine repair. Okay, just the list is endless, but there isn't necessarily enough money in the budget every single month to put aside for that. So we try to keep it at that. And as a larger family, it can be more like a medical visit that maybe insurance didn't cover everything for. We've had this happen, or medicine or other things. Okay. List could go on and on and on. So that's just kind of a basic amount. So we have our $2,500 emergency fund, and we're going to go to the checking account, and we try to keep that a little bit bulked up. And then let's go into the savings. Like, what do I try to keep in savings? Now, it's very important to note that the biggest part of this is our tax refund, and so we try to keep it in there for this amount. And we try not to dip below this for reasons like, I don't know, a car breaking down and you need to get a new car. We try to keep $10,000 into our savings account. Ideally it would be 15. Realistically, it's always been about 10. That $10,000 is our 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So if my husband is to lose his job or to get injured on the job and can't work, then we have that. If anything happens to me and we have to get help, we have money for that. If a car breaks down, we have at least some money for that. It's not going to go as far as I was hoping it would. If anything happened to my husband and I, we do not have life insurance. There is money that our family can take and get the kids what they need, get them home, whatever. If we have a family emergency back in California, that money will get us plane tickets to get out there. So that's why we've kept it insofar as possible. Sometimes it does get dipped into, like if we need groceries, if we need anything, but 10,000 is what we just try to stay at. Now that is more than what a lot of people have, and I get that. And when you put all of these numbers together, like I said, it's starting from ground zeros. This wasn't something that we built up overnight. This wasn't something that was built up in 6 months or anything like that. It really is a slow and steady, do what you can. I'm not one of those that as Dave Ramsey says it, sell everything that the kids think that they're next. I'm not one of those. I will do what I can, but I also live secondhand. So a lot of what I own is already secondhand. It's not new, and people don't really buy that kind of thing. People don't really buy worn down furniture. People don't really buy worn out clothing, shoes. I don't have heirlooms to sell. So most of what I have is cheap books that I find valuable, but not in our world today do they find valuable. So we're doing whatever we can to rebuild. But that's where we're going to go to this next part. So I made our budget. I have started what I can in building up the $500. We had $200 in Aldi gift cards for this month for groceries, and so we're going to roll with that and kind of use that as a base. Moving forward, I have talked many times in the past how I kind of have built up a fridge, freezer, pantry for such a time as this, for a prepper. I don't like to use that term because I think it has almost a doomsday feel to it. I have more of a Proverbs 31 aspect of something will happen one day, and it's just how life works. The winter will come at one point. We may have the Indian summer, but the winter will come. And so kind of going forward, for me, I'm taking inventory of my freezer, I'm taking inventory of my pantry, and I did do a grocery haul that will be forthcoming here briefly. And then we're going to just look at living day by day with what we have and trying to save money that way. In terms of working, that was probably the biggest thing. Like, well, are you going to start working? With my husband home part-time, it will make it helpful for me to pick up work, but I am not going to work. Big part of that is a number of things. One, if I can set my own hours, I can save more money for my family. Let me illustrate this with what happened this last week. About a week and a half ago, I was able to basically clock between 20 and 30 hours of cleaning jobs. But it took, excuse me, and I get $12 an hour. Some of those hours included driving to the place and back. So there's gas. Not being available for making meals. You need something? Not being available for making meals. That added cost. So it was kind of whatever McDonald's, those cheap burritos, what I could get at like the Dollar General, all of that is added cost and takes away from my take-home pay. It wasn't intended to be 30 hours. We just had some deadlines on some apartments that needed to be done so people could move in. I was so tired that I was coming home and I was not able to give any of myself to my family. I was so tired, so beyond exhausted, that I wasn't really a nice person to be around. Let's be real. So I'd get up, do what I could here, plan what I could that needed to be done, and then go and clean. So I know personally it is more important to me to be there for my family. The money will be nice, but again, I have to look at it as there was different costs. So there was more cost in the gas, more cost in the, so basically I earned between $5 and $8 an hour when you start taking out all the other costs. And I'm not sure it's worth it for the person that came home to my family. Again, that's not just gas, that's also the food that I didn't prepare or anything like that. So also people wondered what our meals looked like with no food pantry. That's what it looked like because I was tired. Let's see. So kind of moving forward into the afternoon, yes, I do have these jobs and they do give me time, but now we're homeschooling and now we kind of have a transition stage for our family, and so it's going to be really important to live life and not have the finances consume all of our life. And that's kind of where we have to move forward. I'm not putting this right. I'm getting so distracted by stuff in the background. I apologize. But like I had a glimpse of what that would look like working part-time. I will do whatever it takes to not be put in that position again. If that means being home more and doing what I can here, that's fine. Like, we'll do what we can. And I'll share that with you. Okay, so, I feel like there was something else I really, really wanted to, go over. Yes, I did. One other thing now that we will start doing, I tried to just start when I was like, hey, stop waiting for a new year, stop waiting for a new month, start doing. No, I have to have something like a pinpoint. It's just how my brain works. So at the beginning of September, I started writing down everything we were spending money on and keeping track of all that. So at the end of the month, I will break it down for you, like what we spent on food, what we spent on coffee, there is coffee on here, what we spent on clothing, gas. Yeah, okay. There you go. Alright, there we go. That's a new month. Kind of, again, starting from scratch what it looks like. September, I think, is going to be easier than October. I guess now my husband goes into half paychecks. We'll kind of see what that looks like for our family. I do have cleaning that I will be working in. I don't have a lifestyle where I need somebody else to set me the hours. I need a job where I can set the hours, and this cleaning pretty much helps it. So the boss is like, hey, if you need to go at 2 o'clock in the morning to go do this, you can do that. Maybe not vacuum because it might wake up the other tenants, but you can do that. So I don't know where I was, but basically I need something that I can set my own hours to, and that'll just work out best for my family. Okay. I think we've covered everything. So here is this month's financial update going into another month, and I will see you next month, or I'll see you in the next video, but I'll see you next month with what happened, like what that looked like, the breakdown, and all of that. If you're a part of the Facebook group, stay tuned because that video will come out as to what I did this past month. I shared little glimpses with you, but what I did this past month to kind of get me to that 500 point. If you guys have joined in on that challenge, I look forward to hearing how well you did. And I'll see you in the next video.